First
We
of
are
all, I
here.
want to address the fact that I think it's hilarious, and I still don't know how it happened, that the intro to last week's episode sounded like our intro through the mouth of a demon.
Surprisingly appropriate.
The epic on any other episode that would have been terrifying, but on this one, I was like, huh? Um,
Okay, work. Demon. Again with the demons. We're back. We're
we're
so back.
how do you know you're back from demons? Literally, okay, so I you're like, where are you going with this? But someone emailed me company's like little intro to their email for the other night was ready for hot demons. And I was like, it's a book company. And I was like, what? Because I was scrolling through my emails and I was like, huh? And then I was like, wait, what is it? Like, who is emailing you? And then I was like, oh, it's about a book, probably.
Was the answer yes, though? Like, are you ready for hot
No,
demons?
because right now I'm in the middle of a series about a siren. Mhm.
Yeah,
I
totally
know.
different vibe.
I also haven't, to be honest, I have not posted my reads on Instagram. So if you're like a longtime fan, no, I'm just kidding, but if I do get a kick, and I love posting what I read every month on Instagram, but it is what it is. It's a mess. But I will be doing a quarterly recap. So if you're interested in that, come and look at my Instagram in approximately a week, and then I'll be doing a little thing. And I found an artist on Threads, and I commissioned like a little background for moving forward, so I can put my little book. I know,
Cute.
who is she?
Oh,
So
bookstagram.
thank you. I'm a book talker now. I was like a bookagram. Was that what I was about to say. And then the other very funny thing that I want to share, only because I will be roasting Dom about this for the rest of his life, is the fact that Dom. Okay, so for those of you who don't know Dom, but Dom loves reality TV. He loves it. I thrive on it. So we're big like reality TV watchers together. He was trying. We do like this thing where whenever we watch a show, like a reality show, at the end of the show we'll like do like a deep dive, like where are they now kind of stuff, and we get really into it. So you've been living under a rock. You don't know that The Bachelorette got canceled last week because of the video that was released by TMZ.
Oh, baby.
Yeah,
The
so
posts I
anyways,
have seen calling out the
Dom,
hypocrisy.
right, Dom and I are very big Secret Life of Mormon Wives fans. Like, actually, the Macy Neely, who is on Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, her memoir, which recently released, is like next on my books to read for the year. So we're like very big into it. You're like, what are you like? Where are you going to roast Dom on this? Well, I want to share that Dom last night tried to come to me with a piece of celebrity gossip, but instead of saying, hey babe, so and so is in hot water, what he actually said was, hey babe, so and so is in heat. And I, mind you, this is happening at like 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, huh? Like,
Oh
first of
my
all, I
God.
was about to launch into a speech about like the degrading nature of that kind of comment. I was like, what do you mean? Why are we equating like women or people to animal? And he was like, what are you talking about? And I was like, wait, what are you talking about? And then he was like, no, this celebrity like got in trouble for that. And I was like, baby girl, English is your first language. It's my second. The expression is hot water. And he went, right. So anyways, I don't know why I felt compelled to share that.
Wow.
But now you've also joined me on. So if you know Dom,
Okay.
feel free to text him and roast him for that, because that was one of the dumbest things you've ever said, and also one of the funniest. And now I feel
If you're
like I
a
should say that.
YouTube viewer, yeah, that's great. If you're a YouTube video watcher, listener, whatever, wherever we're posting, comment heat. So we so we know that you are also.
That you are also in heat. Yeah. Olivia. Maybe I need to save that one for the next episode. But anyways, here we are.
Oh my God.
Our sex
Anyway,
episode
yeah,
that
let's
we'll just we're further
we'll
gonna
get there.
what was I gonna say? Tease.
We're gonna
Get it?
keep teasing, we're gonna keep
Get it?
edging. Yeah.
Okay.
Eh,
Anyway,
yeah.
not what
But
we're
back
talking
to the
about today.
demons.
Yeah. So,
We're
anyways,
gonna talk about
hot
those
demons.
inner demons.
Yes. So we went from hot demons to internal demons of the soul. Oh my god!
Demons of
Every
the
episode
soul.
is just what kind of demon are we talking about?
It can relate back. We can circle back.
We can totally make it a thing. Ooh, that's another sticker, along with hilarious female and everything else.
Oh my god. Inner demons or demon of the day, something like that.
Demon of the week.
Demon of the
This week's messy demon. Okay, we'll workshop it.
this
Continuing.
week's demon. Okay, yeah. So this week we're talking about mental health. If it's not in the title, if we've gotten a little too punny with it and you can't figure out what the title actually means, then read the description because the description will tell you what we're talking about.
Right, but if you didn't do any
But
of those things and you're just here, now you know. And again, as always, my disclaimer that I like to give is this is mostly story time and thoughts as they come up. This is not an academic discussion.
this is
There,
not medical advice.
no, we are not therapists, not even
Please,
close. So don't.
no. We may have done a lot of therapy, but we're not licensed at all.
Have you seen the video? And actually, let's jump up here because I think that let's just talk about therapy in general.
Perfect.
But let's start with therapy. But have you seen that video where the girl is like, I asked my psychiatrist like what kind of medication I should use, and my psychiatrist said these are your options, and I said me? I didn't know I got a doctorate over that. Well, think about like, why the fuck do you think I'm here? To see you, the person who should tell you what this is. But hilarity aside, and I will send you that video after we're done here.
Yes.
I think that that's very representative of kind of like the idea behind therapy. I feel like when you haven't gone to therapy, even though therapy is very like in right now as a concept, socially, culturally, whatever, but like when you haven't gone to therapy or specifically like certain cultural aspects, like the idea is that you go somewhere and someone tells you what to do. You know what I
Which
mean?
is
Like, which is not
not
what therapy
what
is.
it
That's more
is.
coaching
Yeah. Mhm.
ish.
It
But
can be.
it can be, but I think that there's so many different types of therapy. There's so many different, weird metaphor, but bear with me, okay? I think therapy is like tofu, right? Because so many people, bear with me, you would never go to a fried chicken place and have a piece of chicken, and then you're like, oh, no, hated that chicken as a whole, done for me, right? But yet, people will
Some people
try,
do.
right? Crazy people. People will try tofu and one time or cooked one specific way, and they're like, nope, that's it. Tofu as a whole sucks. It's horrible. Da 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 da. Like it never even crosses their mind that it's the cook, it's the seasoning, it's the dish, it's the whatever. And I think therapy's the same way. I've met so many people that have gone to therapy once or tried one style of therapy or met one therapist and they're like, nope. And then they swear off therapy just entirely as a whole because that specific thing like didn't work for them.
Yes. I stayed with you, and that made sense at the end. Therapy is like tofu. Title of the episode. There we go. Therapy is like tofu. Because that's exactly what it's about. I've had so many conversations with people who have tried therapy or not, and it's exactly that narrative of like, I had one bad experience with this thing, or I didn't get exactly what I wanted from this thing. And I think a lot of that comes from what you said earlier about a misconception of what therapy is or what it's supposed to be, or even still how it's portrayed in like more traditional media. I think
Yeah.
we're branching away from that with things like
Shrinking.
couples therapy or yeah, sure, which I haven't seen, but I believe you in that it's revolutionary.
So good. So funny.
I might. I'll write it down and
This
Jonathan, if you're
week's
listening, maybe we
cultural
can watch it on
homework
Apple
of
TV.
the week. I'm just trying to get Olivia Whitday. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just trying to keep her culturally relevant for you guys.
I'm out here just listening to ASMR and German pop and not really doing anything trendy. But
Okay,
anyway,
boomer. Anyway.
I'm drinking a probiotic soda. Does that make me cool?
Just kidding.
No? Okay. Well,
But
that's
I
fine.
think that's actually fairly trendy because I feel like probiotic soda right now is like the it girl thing where it's like, oh, I don't drink regular soda, I drink probiotic soda. And it's like, okay, we get it. It's like a moral
Well, have you seen
what?
it? Yeah, it's like a morality thing. Have you seen protein soda? That's a thing now. I saw
No,
protein soda
don't
at
tell
Costco.
me
I know, isn't that
that.
gross?
Can this country
Like,
stop obsessing over protein? Like, you know who buff as hell and never eats a protein soda? A gorilla, okay? So can we chill? Can we chill? I can't. Between the protein brownies, the protein crispies, the protein candies, I'm like, at this point, y'all ain't shitting because you ain't even eating fiber, okay? Like, chill with the protein. You gotta have a complex and a diversified meal. Please, God. Anyways,
stay tuned for our hot take on nutrition.
you're gonna be like, gorillas. And I was like, I don't know that I really know that much about gorillas to give all take on. But,
Anyway, back to
um,
therapy.
yeah, back to from therapy to
Yeah.
gorillas.
So like I think there's a misconception and it's partly generational, but not even like boomer millennial. It's like micro. It's more than that. It's like people who are just in the next like stage of life compared to us, like people who are homeowners or have multiple children who are just like 8, 10 years older than us. I've heard some coworkers talking about how therapy isn't for me. I don't I don't really see how it helps. It's just talking, blah blah
Yeah, well, and I
blah.
think so
There's
much is centered around the idea again of what's known in traditional media for so long was just talk therapy, right? And I think a lot of so I'm gonna brag on my therapist real quick, even though I haven't seen her in a hot minute. Sorry, girl. I'm not gonna use her first name because I don't know if she would. Hold on, let me assess what I know about her. Would she actually care? Probably not. So I'm gonna use her first name. I'm not using her last, and it's not like she's out here giving medical advice on this episode. So my therapist
yeah,
Danielle, who I haven't seen in a hot minute. Hey, girl, sorry. Um, but she like when I met Danielle, I really realized why every therapist until Danielle had not been effective for me. And I credit that to a couple of things. Number one, when I met Danielle, and I guess I'll share a little bit about my story. But I had done a lot of therapy because I struggled with not me starting on this dark ass sentence and I'm very kind of way. I'm not flippant about it. It's just kind of like I think that that's the other thing that I want to preface this with is the reason Olivia and I are we joke a lot about therapy and a lot about mental health and a lot about that is because I think both of us have seen some real shit and we've done a lot of work and a lot of healing and a lot of unpacking. And so it's not that it's not a big deal, but some of the stuff that we're talking about here is stuff that was a big deal for us years ago. And so it's not necessarily like a big deal anymore. And I also don't want that to sound
we've
like, oh,
processed, we've
we're
grown.
like therapy expert, like not at all. But what I was gonna say is I struggled with suicidal ideation when I was a freshman in high school. And at the time I was like actively self-harming and just in like a really dark place. I also like I have an eating disorder. I think I've talked about that before, but that's kind of like it all coalesced into one moment. And so that's my first exposure to therapy with therapy for that was for suicidal ideation. And in that season of life, I met probably one of the worst psychiatrists to walk this earth, whose grand solution to a 14-year-old child telling them that they wanted to kill themselves was um what would your mother say when she saw your body? Don't do that to your mom.
Oh, don't do that. That's dated.
It was crazy, and it's not like I'm like not that there's anything wrong with it, but like I'm in my 50s. Like I was like, girl, what? Like this was not that long ago to be told that. So that was a little cuckoo puffs bananas. And then I saw like a number of therapists who like just I didn't really like click jive with any of them. My family and I at one point we even tried like I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I remember my parents like faces during this. Like they sent us to like a troubled teen group. So the first and last time I've ever done group therapy. Um, because the room was struggling with much like very different things. Much more like behavioral acting out. So like the parents were sharing their
Yeah.
struggles with cigarette smoking and truancy and drugs and sexual like promiscuity kind of stuff. And my parents like it got to them and they were like, she's sad. And they felt uncomfortable
Out
and
of place.
I felt like perhaps not the place, but like in that moment, I think unfortunately what it did for me internally, and I don't want to speak for my parents because I don't know their experience, but for me, it almost made me feel like my problems aren't big enough because like I that was my first experience of being very confused about why I was feeling the way that I was feeling. Like I didn't grow up
Mhm.
like in a like abusive household. I, was going to a really good school. I had friends, but I think that that's one of the biggest things that I've learned is that it's not shameful to accept that sometimes brain chemistry goes awry and sometimes you just need support. And that's what I wish that more people saw therapy as is support. Alongside that, so I went to therapy for a couple years. I had like a negative experience with like the mental health counseling team at my high school. Because I quote overused their services because I was having such a hard time in school that I would just like run to the counselor. And at one point, I guess one of my teachers thought that I was trying to get out of doing assignments by doing that, and I got like screamed at by one of the deans at my school. And then after that, it was
Oh
like
my
I
God.
couldn't go to the counselor. The counselor had to request me, and the counselor did not request me for an entire almost year. So I lost a lot of trust in that relationship. And
Whoa.
so like that kind of environment just didn't feel safe for me. And I was like, okay, I'm done. Like I've seen enough. I
Mhm.
pulled out, oh, we've done enough of this. And so I didn't want to go to any therapy at all. And then had like a personal tragedy moment uh when I was 19. And my mom basically like laid down the law and was like, you have to go to therapy for this. So I did. And that was the first time that I encountered a therapist that like I actually like worked well with that started introducing me to things like exposure therapy. Um, and I'm not like trying to make this episode like a smorgasbord of trigger warnings. Although we are gonna heavily trigger warning the
Yeah.
uh
Hashtag stay
hashtag.
messy. Hello.
But I guess it's interesting because I feel like in a way this episode is probably going to be the most vulnerable I've ever been to the online world because I've talked a lot about it, like on Facebook and Instagram and stuff. Like I've always been pretty open about like my history of disordered eating and self-harm and all those things. But there are some things that I haven't shared. So, well, let's get into it, I guess. Um, so a decade ago, but yeah, 10 years ago, I was sexually assaulted. And that was the reason that I ended up going back to therapy. And I did exposure therapy and it was very helpful. And also I reached a point where it was like, okay, like there's nothing else to do here. Like the work almost felt like complete. At that moment in life, I didn't realize that that was something that could happen, like that was the goal, right? My goals with therapy were so different back then because back then I was like in straight survival mode. Um,
Right.
as one is. But it was like really healing in a way to have an environment that was very validating, very like open for me to feel whatever I was feeling, which was a lot of different confusing things at that time. And especially because I had a lot of like conflicting feelings about how I should feel and where I was at. And I think that like that therapist, her name is Corlani, she did such a good job of just being there and like letting me just feel whatever. And not like villainizing my feelings and not shaming my feelings and not having to like we weren't really there to like really get to the root of anything. We were just there to feel. And that was like the first time that I had that experience. And then after that, I don't think I went back to therapy at all until like 2021. And I was like in crisis mode. I shared last time that 2021, a lot of people that I know died. And in 21, I tried like, I want to say BetterHelp, one of those. And I went kind of comical. I went to one session and I started talking to this guy who I was specifically at that point, that was the point in my life where I was like, okay, therapy should have goals. Like, what am I trying to accomplish? And like, let me seek someone out who's specialized in this thing. And at that point, it was grief because like I was like, I clearly need to process all the things that are happening around grief. And so I looked for someone specialized in grief, thought I found a great person. And then I'm like telling him like all this, and he's like, wow, yeah, like, but you're handling it so well though. And I was like, huh?
That's not what it's about.
Okay. And he's like, and then I
Okay.
was telling him about like some struggles of how I wasn't feeling seen and like, or not even be feeling seen, but feeling Dom was going through a mental health like moment at that time where his mental health just wasn't doing all that well. And combined with the whole grief and everything that we had going on that year, like it was just a lot. And so we were kind of going through it too. And it was our first year of being married.
Oh my God.
Right.
Heavy.
We're in a different state. Like we're so much is happening. Our first year of marriage truly was like a decade's worth of shit. And so I remember telling him that, and then I felt like he started ragging on Dom for not fucking it. This is only a 20-minute session, by the way. He started saying things like, "Well, you know, if you don't like, if he doesn't change things, then in a year you're gonna be in the same exact place, and do you really want that?" And I was like, "What the
You
fuck
don't
is
know this
happening here?
man.
Like, I'm not here to okay." And so I was like, "Okay, yeah, I think that I'm good." And then I like ended the session, and then I was like, or I think I told him like, I feel like one of the important parts of therapy is feeling like there's a good fit, and that's not here for me. So thank you, goodbye. So I was like, okay, I know better. Let me try somebody else. I tried another therapist off the platform, and it was like modicumly better because she didn't do like that egregious of things, but she also was just like, oh wow, that's a lot. Like it almost felt like the shit that I had going on in my life was too much for her. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to like shock you here. I'm genuinely trying to process, trying to go like through my stuff. So after that, I was like, I'm done here. And I really wasn't open to the idea of therapy until, or again, until 2023. And what happened in 2023 is that back in college, as part of my senior capstone, or senior whatever the fuck, like the last class you
Project,
have to take.
whatever
No,
thing.
in the
Yeah.
psych department, you have to take one specific class your senior year, which is, and you read a lot of different types of stuff on the different kind of areas of psychology. Anyways,
Yeah, the
in
capstone. Yeah.
yeah, but you don't do
It
anything
was
like
called something
large.
else.
You don't do like a project. You don't like present something. You don't like, oh, this is my thing. That doesn't exist. Or at least it didn't when we were there. Anyways,
Mhm.
so we're in this class, and like that semester was fucking horrible for me. It was like my worst semester. I think I told you, like life was fucking falling apart that like my senior spring semester. But one thing that happened was we read this book when we were discussing I don't even know what. And the book is called The Man Who Could Not Stop. And it's a book about OCD written from the perspective of someone who has OCD. The author has OCD. And as we were writing this book, I was like, what do you mean? Like everyone thinks these things. What are you talking about? And so I started asking my classmates, like I remember being like, hey guys, like, did you totally do this, right? And everyone being like, huh? And I was like, hmm. And then at the back of the book, there's like a go to this link and take like an do I have OCD assessment. And so me being me, I took the assessment. And it was like I was literally smack dab on the border. And so the answer the assessment gave was like, you could seek professional advice like, regarding this, but it's not like severe. So I was like,
Mhm.
my life is falling apart. I do not have time to unpack this. So I set it aside and I just didn't think about it. But in 2023, my mental health went to the fucking shitter. Like for whatever reason, my PTSD, which I was diagnosed with back a decade ago, started raging. All of a sudden, I was having trouble sleeping. I couldn't, like, I'm a huge fan of SVU. I couldn't watch SVU anymore. Like, the word
Whoa.
rape was anywhere was too much for me. Like, I was having, like, so much of, like, stuff that I was like, what is happening? Because at that point, it had been, 7 years since. And I was like, huh? And at the same time, all of a sudden, like, I was just having all of these thoughts and feelings that I then had never really had. And so finally, like the itch and the problem with having a degree in psychology is that your brain's like, hey, so something's not right and we need to assess this. So I was like putting it off. This happened for like maybe like 4 months. And then one day I remember being on a BART train and having the thought, I have to take a shower when I get home because the air is dirty. And then I was like, oh, and it just threw up every red flag in my head. I was like, that's not an intrusive thought. That's something else. Because before that, I could justify things, right? Before that, I was like, oh, I just don't like to sit on my couch with the same clothes that I wore outside because it's outside clothes. And a
Outside
lot of
clothes. That
people
makes
are like
sense.
that. That makes sense. Like, da 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 da. But I hadn't quite thought to assess that, like, perhaps something deeper was at work. So I like was like, okay, cool. I booked myself a psych assessment and I go to the psych assessment and it's like, okay, cool. Let's um let's have you assessed and yada yada yada. And they come back and I'm expecting them to be like, yeah, you have some mild obsessive compulsive disorder kind of stuff going on that you should need to address. And they come back and they're like, so you have severe OCD and it's really interrupting your life. And I was like, oh,
Okay.
okay.
Huh.
So at that point, I was like, I've had diagnoses before. Like I've had a diagnosis when I was younger, again, like with depression, with generalized anxiety, with like I've had that, but for some reason that one really hit differently because I was like, I don't actually know anything about OCD. I don't, huh? Like I only know about OCD what I've seen in media, which is people who are germaphobes, and like yeah, I was having some
Exactly.
things, but it wasn't like the kind of things that I saw on TV or like it wasn't like it didn't make sense. And so
Yeah, it wasn't like washing your hands 20 times
no,
and
although I will say that when I was 18, I remember there was a month my freshman year of college where I remember thinking I wash my hands a lot. Like a lot. Like I do anything and I feel the urge to wash my hands. So I remember that and then it kind of like I don't know, maybe I got other things happened. Got distracted. I was like, put that away. And so I ended up going to like an OCD specialized clinic. That's where I met Danielle 3 years ago.
shout
And
out to Danielle.
shout out to Danielle. So now we're gonna talk about why Danielle is like the best therapist I've ever had. And the reason is because Danielle is specialized in OCD. And Danielle, like that's her area of practice. Danielle is also specialized in trauma work. So those are two
Oh,
things I didn't
double
know
whammy.
like could actually triple with me, okay? Because she has a whole other thing about body smart. She's very smart, very very good at what she does. But when I met Danielle, she was like, "Hey, oh, and what's funny is, as has happened to me many times in my life, I didn't start with Danielle. I started with this other therapist that I was like very interested in because she was specialized in OCD, but she was also Latina, and I was like, oh, we're gonna have some cultural competency, like there's gonna be that kind of thing. And then she was like, look, I'm not trauma certified, so like, yes, we could do some work together, but at the end of the day, like you're gonna have to address the trauma stuff. So but in my head, I was like, but I've already addressed the trauma stuff. Like, what do you mean? But like,
Mm.
okay. And so I went to Danielle, and Danielle told me, and this is where I learned that OCD and PTSD live in the same part of the brain. So as one symptoms go up, what happened that year for me was my OCD cranked up because of the stress I was under and like the stuff kind of going on in my life, and it dragged up my PTSD symptoms. I didn't know that could happen. I didn't know that that was a thing. She's like, it's very common. And so she was like, so basically, like, what we want to do is we want to do like a 12-week intervention cycle for your OCD. But before we do that, I really recommend, and you don't have to, but I'm recommending that you do a 12-week trauma intensive. And I was like,
12-week trauma intensive. Say those words again.
and
Uh,
I was like, okay. And she was like, we could do it after, but I will tell you that the people that I've worked with that do trauma first, OCD second, have better and faster results because when you've handled the trauma, it allows your brain to have the capacity to actually do the OCD work. So I was like, so actually I'm getting married in like a week, so can we start the week after? And she was like, yeah? What the fuck? No, we're not putting you in a trauma intensive the week of your wedding. So,
wow.
um, and I know I said long story short, but whatever. We know. We're here to
Yeah,
talk
long
about
story, the length that it's
the
gonna
length
be.
that it is, which is that mental health. I mean, an overarching theme is it's complicated. It takes fucking years
Mhm.
to do this kind of shit. So I ended up doing this trauma intensive, changed my life, for sure. And after that trauma intensive, I went to doing like an OCD intensive. And one of the best parts about Danielle, and the reason that I realized like, oh shit, like two things were at work. Number one, when I was younger, many women with OCD are misdiagnosed with anxiety because we report the symptoms of OCD. And so even with medication or therapy to handle the symptoms, the thoughts and like the core part of the problem is not being addressed. And so that's why I felt like, yeah, I'm on medication, like I might not be having panic attacks anymore, but I don't feel better because I wasn't, right? Because the actual core problem wasn't being addressed. The other thing that happened with Danielle is that Danielle is not a confrontational, but like she confronted my shit. Danielle's favorite
Yeah,
phrase.
she was direct with you.
No, not even direct. Danielle's favorite phrase is, yeah, maybe. So one time I told Danielle my biggest life fear, and her answer was like, yeah, that could happen. And I was like, huh? Because I thought talk therapy was all about like a therapist being like, oh my God, how do you feel? And you tell them, and they're like, yeah, oh my gosh, your feelings are so valid. And da, 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 da. That's what I've had my whole life. And then Danielle was like, no joke. Like, we went through my whole experience. Obviously, the trauma, a lot of it had the roots of the assault back in 2016. And so I'm telling her like all this. And like, gets to the end, she's like, yeah, that's horrific. That's horrible. And like all these things. And also, I want you to think about like, okay, cool. What are the actual actionable things that that experience has like taken from me, and like, what are the things that I'd like to get back? And so that was my homework. And one of those things actually, ironically, ended up being SVU. So like, one of the pieces of my trauma intensive homework was like reclaiming the things that I had lost. And I never actually sat down to think about what are the things that I don't do or feel like I can't do now because of what happened. And I like sat down and practically made a list. And every week I had to check off like one of those things off the list. And some of them were like more brutal than others, sure. But I remember like the day that I like watched SVU by myself at night and was like, huh, okay. And then I turned off the TV and all I felt was like, that was an interesting episode and nothing else. Yeah, it was incredible. And then with just in general, Danielle's thing is like, okay, so now what? Like that was the thing that I was missing in therapy and in the conversations about my mental health my whole life was everything was focused around the feelings, the reasons, the causes, the where we're at here. Nothing was pushing me forward to think about where do we go from here. I had no direction.
Yes. The
And
so what?
yeah, and so she was the first one to like really like another time I told Danielle that I felt like financially I had struggled as a result of the assault and then like all the things that came after and da 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 and gave her this whole thing. And she went, yeah, maybe. Or maybe something else would have happened, or maybe you would have just made a stupid decision and be in the same exact place they were. And I was like, and I just learned so much about not
Wow.
being so definitive and like
Mhm.
learning to live in the gray and learning to accept certain parts of things as just like factual and truly like not working to, and this is something I've always believed but something I really like was able to put in practice when I worked with her was like the importance of just accepting that some things are right, like I love to use the analogy of like we're in the car. Like I'm in the car and there's so many things that are in the car with me, right? Like my trauma or my OCD or the things going on in my personal life or the things going on at work, da 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 da. And the important part is that like I remain in the driver's seat. Like yes, you're in the car and yes, you can yell whatever, throw snacks in my head or whatever. Like you don't get to drive the car anymore. And I think that Danielle was like really so like formative in me just accepting that they're just things that are part of who I am or my life experience, yada yada, that don't necessarily just have to drive me or that I don't have to ascribe that kind of control over. Um, so she's chill as hell, and at the end of it, like the reason I haven't seen her is because so like not to brag on myself, but when I right before I had my daughter, oh, because we started working together. We started working together, and then like right after my trauma intensive, I found out I was pregnant. So I got to do all of my OCD work
Wow.
while pregnant, which is an incredibly overstimulating and very activating experience with OCD. That. Um, but like through my work with her, like I'm actually on a scale. I've been like not clinically at PTSD levels for like 2 years now. Um, which is incredible. Your girl did it. Only took
Yeah.
8 years. Which is
With a
amazing.
baby
I know, right? And
girl. Yeah.
OCD also, like, it's just a part of my life, and I've just accepted there are certain things that are just what they are. And now I don't ascribe so much, like, not necessarily like value, but like so much importance. They just are. I don't feel like I need to worry about why they are or worry about fixing them or whatever. They just are. And yeah, and so I'll give like a cool white little example of one of those things that I just accepted that it is the way that it is through OCD. I've learned so much about how my brain works and how my brain's always worked. And I've discovered so many things from my childhood that I was like, oh, I thought those were quirks, and they're not. They're actually just very common OCD things. And one of those is that I've always had a trouble getting dressed. And not a lot of people know this about me. Just kidding. But why would you? I get stuck getting dressed. And part of that is due to what I now recognize as sensory sensitivity. I never realized how much I pick clothes based on fabric. The other thing is that my OCD, because there's so many different brands, you guys, we're not all the same. But there are many different kinds of OCD. There are like five primary ones, but one of them is like the like just rightness. Your brain's constantly feeling like chasing this idea of like it feeling just right. And
Homeostasis.
I chase that with clothes, but the just right doesn't actually exist. And so I'll put on an outfit and something doesn't feel correct. And so I'll change it and then I'll change it and then I'll change it and nothing ever feels correct. Uh so as a part of my work with Danielle, one of the weeks, my homework was that I only had 5 minutes to get dressed. And if I got dressed and I wanted to change something, I was only allowed to change one thing and then I had to walk out the door. Why do I bring this up? Because now that's something I've actually continued. I don't take very long to get dressed. I tend to not look in mirrors when I'm getting dressed very much, and I just go. Like the very first thing that sounds good, I go with it because otherwise I will get stuck. And this explains why my entire life, where some people are like, "Oh, I'm leaving at 4, so I need to start getting ready at 2:30." That for me is actually like the worst thing that I can do because what I will end up so frustrated that I won't want to go. Which explains why in college, whenever my friends wanted to go out, I would take a nap until 10 minutes before I had to be at the door, as you know, and then I would wake up, throw on
Yeah.
some stuff, and be like, we're
With
ready.
your giant closet full of so many things. And you just like, whoop, whoop, whoop. It was either, that's so interesting because the memories I have of that time are that or you wearing that yellow hoodie and the black leggings day in, day out. Wow.
Because like it felt like the fabric of that hoodie and it just, yeah, yeah. Hey. So yeah, I think part of the conversation about mental health is like I think that there are things that we can work to improve, we can work to understand, we can work to better ourselves, and there are things that just are, right? And like that for me is just one of the things that just is. And now that I am let go of this idea of like whatever I thought that it was supposed to feel like to get dressed, I'm so much happier because
Love that.
I just get dressed and I don't change it. And half the time I feel horrible walking out the door, but as soon as I'm out in the world, I forget about it.
Then it's fine. It's not that deep.
It's really not that deep, but it feels deep. And
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things is that a lot of these things feel so heavy and they feel so lonely because we think that we are the only person in the world that is experiencing these things, or we don't understand why we're feeling these things. Like, why do I feel so sad? I nothing's gone wrong, like nothing, right? But we
Yeah,
still feel
that's my
sad.
thread.
So like let's address that, you know what I mean? So anyways, and
Mhm.
talk to us about your stuff because I've been prattling for forever.
Woohoo! Okay, my turn. My turn to I'm not gonna say trauma dump because I have feelings about that term. Um, wow, Olivia has feelings about something therapy related. How meta of her.
Libya has feelings. I'm fat.
Insane. Uh,
That was a crazy
well, there
face
was a
that you did.
time.
I'm gonna clip that for
Great,
real.
great. Frame it. Love it.
Direct.
Well, there was a time when I didn't really have feelings, and that's where yeah, because again, my brain, Libra moon, I'm going into competing directions right now. I want to address that, um, what you said before, that feeling that your problems aren't big enough for you to go to therapy. Lies. I mean, lies.
Your brain is
It's not.
lying to you.
Your brain is lying to you. You are not your thoughts. If your thoughts are telling you that what you're experiencing is not, it doesn't qualify you for seeking help, false. It's never a bad idea in regards to mental health to at least seek support. You don't have to like check yourself into a an inpatient program about it. Like it's not always that caliber. When people kind of talk about seeking help, that sort
Yeah.
of implies that there's something life threatening about it.
Right, right. Because
And
you're like it's the extreme, right? And it's never seen as something, I think this is one of the things you're about to touch on, so I'll just like lead you in this direction. It's never seen as something that's preventative. It's seen as something that's treatment.
yes, yeah, yeah. And I had that experience more recently, but it all started when I was in college. And I mean, it started even before that. When this is welcome. If you're here 43 minutes in and you're a new listener, welcome to Olivia's life story. I'm about to tell you about how rough puberty was for me.
Oh boy. Are we gonna get another one of
Oh
your
no.
questionable stories?
All I'm gonna say, because I'm gonna speed it up for this part. I was an anxious tween. I had a lot of anxiety, like the way that those hormonal changes manifested for me was a lot of crying about nothing. It was just like, I'm not at school being distracted anymore, and now I'm sad. And it was for maybe a year, and I don't remember exactly when it stopped, but that was my first experience with what I understand now as a form of anxiety. And it progressed as I got through high school and the stakes got higher, and we get older, things get more important, you become aware of your place in society and in the financial world, and you're watching all these people around you get older and the world is falling apart and all these people are in power and you feel some type of way about it. And I just remember experiencing a level of anxiety that was like what I thought was normal for a high school student taking higher academics, where I've talked about this last season where it was like I would get so anxious before having to do a timed essay that I thought I was going to shit myself, and I didn't. Hey. But it was that feeling. That was how it felt in my body at the time, was just like, "Oh, something is wrong," literally a gut feeling.
That one's the origin of gut feelings. There's just one guy that was just the only kid about to shit himself, and he's like, you know what I'm gonna call this? A gut feel. I'm so fun, you guys. You're welcome.
So, that was my experience with anxiety, and when I was in high school, we were in high school at the same time, and I don't know if you had this experience. It sounds like maybe not, and that the counseling program was questionable. But I knew, even at that time, I knew students who were certifiably depressed or had generalized anxiety or were hospitalized for suicide attempts. I knew girls who cut, and it was like I went to public school, and it wasn't like it wasn't like euphoria style where it was glorified to be like suicidal or depressed or anything. It was like we were saying earlier, these are the facts. There are people in the world who experience this, and this is what their brain chemistry is. Like
No. What's that
it was
like?
not shamed. Well, it was, yeah, it was not shamed in the same way. Um, but if you like I knew a girl who took a lot of Tylenol, but not enough to kill herself, just enough to get her stomach pumped. And that became a source of gossip because it was like, okay, if you really wanted to die, wouldn't you have tried harder? And there was a narrative that that suicide attempt was for attention, which is crazy.
So sad to me, but also like does not surprise me at all because again, we were so ill-equipped to talk about these things in general,
Mhm.
but especially at that age, like that for me, just hearing it is like, oh my God, she was screaming for help. And
Mhm. Yeah. And that was what the gossip was around her after that. Um So there was, yeah, like I saw it and I had an understanding, I thought, of
you're like,
what
oh, these people.
anxiety. Yeah, I was like, "Oh my god, like you're so anxious, you're so depressed." Like I get anxious sometimes about stuff, but like I'm cool. And then college and the stress of that and what we feel like is normal at that time, where it's like you're really not taking care of your body and you're prioritizing things that you later in life realize are not important. Like I probably mentioned this in the straight A's to burnout pipeline episode, but like I didn't need to be out there shooting for summa cum laude. Nobody fucking cares. Like all of the anxiety,
Yeah, and just like
especially.
the pressure and the stress about things like the paper. Do you remember how stressed you were about the
Yes,
paper? Oh
I
my God, you
do.
guys. One time Olivia told me, she's like having a full crash out. She's like, oh my God, the person who's supposed to edit the no isn't here. I have to go right now. Can you come with me? I'm like, okay. So we go there. And like when I tell you this room is full of people who you would have thought this is the New York fucking Times and they are on a deadline to break the most breaking news of all time by the level of frantic energy. But again, I think it's very glorified. It's glorified in different ways, but I think in college, that sort of thing is very glorified. It's glorified to be the most burned out.
Glorified suffering.
Yeah, oh my God. Or even
Mm-hmm.
just glorified tired. You know what I mean? Like, oh my God, I've done three.
Yes.
Like, how many people in college are talking about how, like, they've done pulled three all-nighters that week and taken two things of Adderall? And you're like, huh?
Yeah. Drinking Monster from the cafeteria instead of water. Like, yeah. And so what is unfortunately, a common experience. So it just didn't register to me that anything was off. Then, of course, COVID hits, like not even a year after we graduated. And I remember because the anniversary, every March, I remember the anniversary of when my workplace at the time shut down. And at the time, I was I might have talked about this in the update episode. I might have talked about this in episode 2, but I don't know. Um y'all can let us know if this is ringing any bells. I was in an entanglement with a person from my workplace.
Oh. Oh no, I don't think you did. I was gonna say I thought we were going back to Mr.
Okay.
Frisky Slay for a second.
Oh no, it was like a year before that.
Oh.
It
Pre
was before
pre
lockdown.
pre Mr. Frisky Slay.
Pre
If
Mr. Frisky
if
Slay.
anyone's
This
wondering
was
who
right
Mr. Frisky
after.
Slay is, it's the time that Olivia dated someone that she met at Walmart in the fast food aisle. Anyways, continue.
I'm never gonna live that down.
No,
I think
never. I will never live down my love of Cusco, and you will never live down that. Continue.
right. We are
I
the
see.
sum of our parts. Anyway, so this is between graduation and lockdown
Okay.
that I was sexually involved with someone who I worked with. And it was a combination of like, oh my God, I graduated and I kind of I want to move back to Oregon. I know that I don't want to be a journalist or a literature professor, at least right now. And those are the two things I
Same.
studied. What the fuck am I going to
Yeah.
do? It was like career panic, location, and oh, I'm like a real adult now. I have a job. So I was having sex with this person, and every time it would either be like in the midst of it or immediately afterwards, I would feel tingling in my face. Like my
Oh my
face would
God.
would have pins and needles.
Oh my God.
Not
That sounds
numb. Like I could
that sounds horrific.
it's terrifying.
Okay,
Like
can
I would
I
get foot cramps.
I have so many questions about going with this. But like,
This is going somewhere, I promise.
so I'm sorry, you said in the middle of or right after?
Yeah.
And this is every time.
Yeah.
Were you okay, not to get like too into your sex life at the time, but were you having sex with multiple people? Like, do you think this was person specific or do you think it was like the moment specific?
It was protected sex with this one person.
Love that she specified it's protected, y'all. That's hilarious. She's like, I was using protection.
This protection, it's still important even if the world's imploding. You don't want to
Slowly
die with an
becomes like
STI.
it just becomes like a weird little anime 6% interlude. It's just us holding a Trojan box. Okay. Anyways,
Not sponsored.
sorry, not sponsored. But I'm do we want to be sponsored by Trojan? I don't know if that's really our target market.
No.
Anywho, you were saying pins and needles.
Yeah. So I'd get foot cramps, dehydrated. I'm like probably chronically dehydrated. I don't know. Um, and then I would get tingling in my face that would last potentially for hours afterward. And at that same time, I was having digestive issues that I had never had before. I lost like, I don't know because I wasn't weighing myself at the time, but I lost somewhere around 10, 15 pounds. I lost all the weight I had gained from college because I wasn't eating and I was like stressed out all the time. And it occurred to me that like, oh, this is this is bad. I need to I
I
need to
love
stop
how I love how
doing
we
this.
both had moments where we're like, oh, perhaps. And by perhaps I mean definitely. This is bad. Because
Yeah, because it had
you can
never.
only like you can only justify or like be like, oh, well, like so long. There does come a critical
Mhm.
mass point where you're like, oh no, like this is actually like critical.
Yeah, like this is, again, negatively affecting my ability to function in life. So, up until that point, I had just experienced anxiety as like, oh, like I'm anxious about this thing. Maybe I have trouble sleeping and I feel like I'm going to shit my pants sometimes, but like this was consistent. And like the people I was living with at the time noticed it, and like I had really bad acid reflux too. Like everything that could go wrong with my body was going wrong. And fast forward to after we came out of lockdown, it was still like COVID-ish time. It was like 20, yeah, it was 4 years ago, 2022. I moved out, got a job where I was responsible for a lot of shit, and I was working up to 12-hour days, compensating for work that people who weren't salaried didn't have time to do. And it got to the point where I was kind of responsible for like the finances of the place in a indirect way.
Ew.
And yeah, it was just, it was, yeah, it was a lot of stuff weighing on me, and my body started to fall apart again. And I don't know if I still have it. I might have deleted it, but I had made a list on my phone because again,
Olivia loved the list.
well, yeah, I love I'm a Virgo. I love a list. Um, but it was like even then when I was so depressed, I couldn't do anything except the work I needed to do when I got home. But then my alarm would go off in the morning and the anxiety would keep me going throughout the day. And then I'd crash when I got home. And I didn't like my stomach started acting up again. And I had headaches all the time. And I just felt physically ill like all the time. But couldn't, I couldn't pin it on anything.
I mean, stress is so
And
physical.
yeah, it really, it like, it stays in your body. And yeah, I think oh no, I kept it. Exhausted no matter what, can't focus, forgetful. I was having and this still happens occasionally, but for different reasons. I was having like blood clots come out of my nose. Like not nosebleeds, but just like
Stuff, Olivia.
it was bad. I know, I was like forgetting things. I was
Man.
losing things.
You guys,
I was either
I feel like one of the interesting parts of our podcast is even though we know each other so deeply and we know a lot about each other, sometimes I feel like we're on one of those interview shows where the host is like, "Oh my God, and then what did you do?" What? I had no
no,
idea
for
of any
real.
of
It's like,
this.
here's this lore drop. Like,
Right. Like your face while I was talking, now my face is you're being like, so then the blood clots are flowing. I'm like,
yeah. Yeah. So, long story short, that was um the list I brought to the the doctor after HR was like, "Hey, do you want to maybe pursue medical leave?" And
Oh,
yeah, so I did. I went on medical leave, and that was the first time that I mean, it was just a random doctor, like not even my primary, just like someone who could see me at the time and write me a fucking note. And that doctor at the time was like, "Yeah, this sounds like moderate to severe anxiety and depression." I was like, "Oh, okay. That's great. That's great. We
I love
can
it
put a
when
label on it."
right, right, which sounds and is and in the moment feels so scary, but
Mhm.
honestly, it is such a blessing and so much freedom to get out of the ambiguity and out of the like, is something wrong? Am I making this all up in my head? Am I dramatic? And have someone actually be like, no, yeah, like this is actually like certified like wrong.
Yeah, and we're gonna write you a note about it so that you don't have to go to work anymore. So I did that. I went on medical leave. And after that, I quit that job. And then it took me like over a year. Sometimes I still feel some type of way. It's been 3+ years now. I still feel like I'm recovering from burnout and from that experience. And it it doesn't end there, folks. And this is where I wanna segue
And
into
she
because we
keeps
mentioned
going.
it. She keeps going.
The blood clots are
Never
back. I'm
stops.
sorry. I can't get rid of them.
Can't stop, won't stop. Like,
The image is
we were
just
talking about
sorry for the
new
listeners at
cover art.
home.
It's
Oh my
me
no, Dada,
bleeding.
remember when we did the recap of this season? This one should just be like
Oh my god, that's gonna be this one.
kiss, but it's just I'm so sorry. Okay, that was unnecessarily gory,
Oh,
but hilarious,
oh
so
my
you're
god,
welcome.
unnecessarily. We're keeping it real. Um, God, I forget what the connection was to that, but oh yeah, like seeking different levels of help. So I recovered from burnout for the most part, got back to work, and um, was just kind of like, okay, here I am. I'm getting back into the swing of things. I'm still trying to figure out what to do with myself. And last, I think I've talked about this in a previous episode too. Last winter, not 2025, but the winter before, fall and winter, I started having really intense anxiety. Like I would call them not panic attacks, but like heightened anxiety attacks when I had too much caffeine or um, when I had any amount of alcohol. And I was getting hangovers, and I never had that before. And some shit was going on um, at work and personally that caused me to, again, lose a bunch of weight very quickly and have problems eating and not wanting to do anything that I used to enjoy to the point where like people were noticing and it was affecting my existence. And I bring this up probably again to really drive home that sometimes it's just your brain and you can do everything in your power. You can do everything that Instagram tells you, all the like, YouTube self-help yada yada, like I'm gonna wake up at 4:30 and drink my green juice and do Pilates for an hour and then go to work at 9 a.m. You can do all of those things because I did. I changed my diet. I tried to sleep more, more water, outside time, social time, like do all meditation. I was fucking meditating, like doing all the things that you're advised to do if you're hitting kind of a low point with your mental health. And they still, that didn't work. I was still in a really bad place. And when I went to my doctor I had at that time, and I told her, because she was like, oh, yeah, you could try this and this and this and this. Usually, this is what we recommend for people who are having these symptoms. And I'm like, I have tried that.
Like,
I
oh,
have
that's actually so
done
cute. I've
everything.
done everything on that list and then some. So,
Yeah. So I don't know what else there is to do. And I was, God, when was this? Yeah, it was a year and a half ago. It was like 20, I was 27 after having been depressed for however many years because I wasn't paying attention, on top of already just kind of an anxious disposition underneath. And it was so validating. And if there's anyone listening who is questioning their decision to seek support, or like berating yourself for not being able to handle it alone, or like, oh, I'm doing all of these things and it's not helping, I must not be trying hard enough, get the medication. Just, it changed my life. And sure, I still, like, last week, new moon eclipse or whatever the hell was going on in the astrology, and that fucking hit me. That that was a lot. I'm a Virgo. It was in Pisces. It made me emo. And then I was okay a couple days later. So it's not like everything magically goes away, but if your baseline is in fucking hell and the medication helps you get to neutral, that's
well, I think that
like
that's
that's such
like
a win.
it, and I think that one of the common threads that I hope you take away from this episode, you admit, the listener, is that eh, mental health is um just like our regular health is continually evolving, and there is no such thing as quote like fixing things. Not that you're something to be fixed, because we're not, right? Like we're the sum of our
We're
experiences.
not machines.
Right. But we're people, and it's okay if you need different supports in different seasons of life. And I also want to echo that I think that we put a moral attribute to being unmedicated. And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with being unmedicated if that's something that works for you. I will briefly share that I actually did the whole correctly. I did the trauma intensive. So for people with OCD, combination of exposure therapy, ERP, and medication is shown to really reduce symptoms for about 75% of people. So when I went into that program, I was like, okay, cool. Like I had to do a lot of processing. I had tried medications as a youth in high school, and none of it had ever really worked. I found out later that's because we were treating the anxiety, right, not the core issue. But I I actually ended up doing all of it unmedicated. I did the whole intensive. I graduated, for lack of a better word, but like my OCD was in remission. Um, and then I had a baby. And one of the things that I was very open to is just checking on my mental health. And about 2 months postpartum, I just remember I had a night where I, I didn't even mean it in like a suicidal way, but I just remember feeling like so low that I said the words like, I just don't want to live. And that has been such an open conversation between me and Dom's. Our whole I mean, obviously, like our whole relationship is built around openness and transparency in a lot of different ways. But that for us is one of those like red flag kind of things. Um, and I remember Dom saying like, "Hey, we talked about this. Like, any sort of thoughts in that direction, like we gotta address this." So I also agreed. I was like, "Oh no, yeah, that was like one of my my the air is dirty moment." And at that point, my I went to my OB and I told her like, "Hey, like I'm having some scary thoughts." And it had only happened the one time. It honestly never happened after, but she said to me, which was really impactful, she was like, "Hey, like I've had a lot of patients do really well on Lexapro that have OCD and that are postpartum. Maybe you take it for 2 weeks, maybe you take it for 2 months, maybe you take it for 2 years. But regardless, like if this can be the thing that helps you in this moment, I think it's worth a shot." And so I did. And I've been on my 13-month anniversary on Lexapro. Just kidding. But I have been on Lexapro for over a year. And actually, one of the things that I was thinking about the other day is that I think that at this point, I'm ready to get off of it. Because 6 months ago, if I didn't take my bare minimum 10 milligrams of Lexapro, by the end of the day, I felt emotionally like uh, unstable. I would just be so sensitive.
I feel that.
I like there were a couple nights in the fall, maybe like September, where I just was like, why am I sobbing over nothing? And then I would check and I would realize that I didn't take my medication that morning. And I was like, oh. Whereas now, like I had a day last week or the week before that I forgot to take my meds before I left for the day. And I did not feel the difference. So I think I'm at a point now hormonally, chemically, what have you, like life wise, that I think that I'm gonna be okay to taper off of it. But I
Mhm.
say that with the full chest hearted belief that one, I'm not trying to do that right now because as Olivia knows, and viewers at home will find out sometime. There's a lot going on right now logistically for me in my life. So I have no interest in adding another thing to work through because I'm like preserving my bandwidth. But if and when I move off the Lexapro and then I feel like, oh, actually, like I need it again, I have no qualms about like remedicating because I think that again, we need different types of support in different seasons. So, hey, maybe you do need an inpatient program, or maybe you need an outpatient program, or maybe you just need a support group of people that are having similar kind of life experiences, or maybe you need meds or talk therapy or CBT or ERP or whatever, right? Or maybe this is all just like, holy shit, I don't know. Maybe you need a diagnosis. Um,
Valid. Yeah.
right? Whatever it is though, like I think that there's so much value in just accepting that our needs will evolve as our life evolves, as the demands on us evolve, as what we want evolves, and that's okay. And like it's okay for our goals to change and adapt. And it's funny because the other day I was thinking about booking a session with Danielle, even though I'm in like maintenance mode right now. And then I thought about the time that Danielle told me that for someone with OCD, like their biggest compulsion is their therapist because it's like the thing that will give you that hit of the stuff that you're looking for like the fastest. And she was like, there will come a day where like you don't actually like need me. Your brain just convinces you that you would like to have like that sensation. And I was like, huh. And then I thought about it and I was like, what do I actually want to get out of the session? And the answer was I just want someone to be like, damn, that's fucking crazy. But stuff that I have going on right now. And then I was like, I'm good. Like I know it is. I'm set. Um, but I'm very open to going back and doing more work and kind of like still continuing to do that because it's never ending, right? Like just because I'm in remission now doesn't mean that I will always be because I won't. And that's the other thing that
Mhm.
like I feel like is really important to kind of like leave us on is the idea that mental health is a lifelong roller coaster. And
Yeah,
there
just
are
like physical.
really high points and there are really low points and I'm sure for some people, like they're very neutral. I don't know. I don't actually know anyone that's like, oh, I've never had a, you know, but like that's okay. And so one of the best things that Danielle has really ingrained in me is the idea of like planning for when it gets bad, right? Like having those ideas in place. Like what am I gonna do the next time that whatever. And for me, like my care plan, you guys get to find out more about me, but my care plan looks like right now medication, but also like if things go, in a scary direction or in a way that like I'm feeling like something's out of control in the sense that like my OCD is actually having like a significant detrimental impact on my life, not just being like things that I have to work around, but like actually like keeping me from things that I enjoy or really negatively affecting my relationships. Like that's the moment where I need either more therapy or different therapy or to analyze things and kind of like assess and that's kind of just like certitude. I know that it will get bad again at some point. And that's okay, because that's just the nature of life. One, but B, like
Being a
just
person.
being a person, but also having like mental health conditions like depression, like OCD. Like it it's not like you find something and then you find nothing and then everything's hunky dory for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
You're
Yeah,
you're
like you
constantly
can change
adapting.
medications, you can go off, you can increase, like you can move physically, move your life to another city, state, country, like change your environment. There are so many factors that go into taking care of your mental health, and it's a lot to consider, but it's all, again, just reiterating, you live here. Like you are in your brain all day. Do yourself a solid and make it a nice place. Do what you can. And that includes not beating yourself up if you feel limited.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, like one of the most freeing things that you can do is just accept that you aren't feeling well and that you do feel like you need support for whatever reason. And it doesn't have to be some earth shattering shit, you know? Like, I feel like a lot of the times I not hesitate, but like, I feel like, I talk about where my PTSD comes from, for example, and people are like, oh, well, duh, because that's considered like a large life event, like a horribly tragic story, yada, yada. But like, it also, like, my PTSD came from that shore, but I also like had messages of just shit that happened across my life before and after that. You know what I mean? So like it's not just that. And it doesn't have to be some earth-shattering shit to have a really detrimental impact on your life and on your mental sanity. And life's not about just like how do I move through it? It's also about like how do I find like some vestige of peace in the moment that I'm in the season that I'm in, because we're
Yeah.
constantly like in seasons of limbo, right? And I think taking care of your mental health makes it so much easier to actually like find that peace and find that like inner. Now we're gonna get to the meta portion of our episode, but
Yes, here we go. Woo!
like that inner knowing that like you got yourself right and that you have your back. And I think that
Mhm.
that's one of the best things that you can give yourself is is like that gift. And like Olivia said, like you live here, but also you being with yourself is one of the only certainties you have in life. Because you actually don't have any certainty that anyone else is gonna be there for the rest of but from the moment you take your first one to the moment you take your last one, like you're there. And so like don't you want to also enjoy not just the place you live in, but the person you are that can be so impacted in any direction, right? By how we feel and how we think and what could be going on clinically or not. But we're here for it all. We're here for all the experience and the emotions.
Getting deep
I
tonight.
know. uh,
Following death with coming home to yourself.
ooh,
Ooh.
you're
Speaking
welcome.
of coming back to our roots, what are you listening to this week?
I will be honest, I have not listened to a lot of music this week. Because I feel like I've been in one of those like you're driving home and all you want is silent. Or you want to like talk to a friend because you're just like, I need to whatever. But I say that with a caveat. You're gonna laugh at me, but it's okay. Because I made this playlist back in college. It's a long story that we'll discuss at another time that is not right now. People are like, Jesus Christ, and we'll end the episode. I know, I will. But I made this playlist back in college that I barely listen to now, but it's called hold on. Oh my god, what is it called? You're gonna crack up. It's called Beast Mode. And it's what I used to listen to like in the mornings when I was getting ready. I think I talked about last time, like when I was like deep in the like, you're gonna get it, you're gonna yeah.
Self-development era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have been like what is the song? It's the intro by Nuff Said, which is really just like clips of motivational speeches and then it like ends in like the build up to a rap album. I don't know, man. It's just been in my brain. That and Every Day by Logic and Marshmallow because I've just needed to hype myself up and before work. Yeah,
All right.
just like in my I don't know, not my motivational era, but like I've needed the boost, And when we talk about like knowing the
Yeah.
things that we need, right now the music that I listen to, like I cannot listen to anything chill. I need my music to jack me up because I need pour into me. So I will take, Sylvester Stallone talking in my ear about that. You're gonna listen to this and be like, huh? But anyway,
If you know what, if it inspires you, I support that. Use your tools.
thank you. Thank you. What about you? What do you listen to?
Yeah. Yeah. Similar vein, weirdly enough. This morning I'm not really in a chapel phase right now. I'll go through periods where like every few months I'll be like, "Yes, chapel, I need her." But that's not the time that I'm in right now.
Okay.
I just woke up with my kink is karma in my brain and I needed that. And then it's like my brain is vacillating
We
between
have we
my
have a
kink.
DJ. Yeah, we have a DJ that lives
Yes.
inside of us. We know this.
DJ in my brain, and she's playing My Kink is Karma and Florida by Taylor Swift on repeat because I am getting Bella to watch the Taylor Swift docu-series.
Very fascinating. I have not listened to either of those songs ever. So I will be doing my first listen when you put it on the playlist along with our listeners. And with that, we bid you adieu. Um
You're welcome for another long boy.
I feel like season 2 is just kind of like we're really here. Like but you know what? I think that so many of these topics like we could be breaking up into part 1 and part 2, but they feel just better just in one like longer chunk. So I don't know what that says. Maybe that says something about the season that we're in. I don't know. But we hope you enjoy. If you turn this off already, then you're not listening to this, so
You
bye.
missed out. Sucks. Yeah.
Bye. Oh my god, I heard the funniest thing because as you know, I always talk about like our fans and our haters, but I heard a better one today. I heard someone say to my friends and my foes, and I love that. Okay, we're adopting that. So to our foes, have a great week. Stay messy. Leave us a review. We're gonna come for you. We're gonna send the hot demons. No, you know what? We're not gonna send the hot demons. You only get the hot demons if you leave a negative review. I don't know. We'll classify the demons and what reviews they come for next week.